Chapter 10. Off to Find the Toys. Pixie was gloomy and cross that evening. The children were sad, and they felt ashamed that they had gone quite so mad with the growing ointment. They felt very guilty indeed about Pixie's wand. "Will you come and tell us if the wishing chair grows its wings again tonight, Pixie?" asked Molly when it was time for them to go back to the house. "I might," said Pixie gruffly. "And I might not. I might go off by myself in it." "Oh no, don't do that," begged Molly. "That would be terrible. Oh dear Pixie, please be so nice and forgive us for losing your wand." "All right," said Pixie, and he cheered up a little. "I really do feel very upset about losing my doll Rosebud, you know," went on poor Molly. "I feel just as upset about her as you feel about your wand." "And I'm quite miserable about my engine," said Peter. "That was the finest engine I ever had." "Well, we will hope that the wishing chair grows its wings again tonight then, and we can go and fetch everything," said Pixie. "I'll come and tap on your windows if it grows its wings." But Pixie did not tap on their windows at all, for the chair did not grow any wings in the night. Molly gave a sigh. "Oh, just when we so badly want it to fly, it won't grow its wings. Now, today we've got to behave nicely and be on our best behavior because Mother has got visitors. Perhaps we shan't be able to go down to the playroom at all today." At 11 o'clock, when the visitors had arrived and Mother was giving them coffee and the children were handing around plates of biscuits and buns, Pixie appeared at the window. He was horrified to see so many people there, and he disappeared at once, and the children caught sight of him. They looked at one another in despair. Now what were they to do? There was only one thing. They must do something to make Mother send them out of the room. And so Molly suddenly spilled the plate of biscuits all over the floor, and Peter spilled a cup of coffee. Mother looked vexed. "Oh, dear," she said. "Go and ask Jane if she will please bring a cloth, Molly. And I think that you and Peter had better go now. I don't want anything else spilled." "Sorry, Mother," said Peter. And they shot out of the room. Molly called to Jane to take a cloth to wipe up the coffee, and then both children raced down to the playroom. "I hope Pixie has not gone off in the chair by himself," panted Peter. "If he saw us with all those visitors, he might think that we couldn't possibly come, and then he'd fly off by himself." They got to the playroom door just as Pixie was flying out in the wishing chair. They bumped into one another, and Peter caught hold of one of the chair's legs. "Just in time," he cried. "Help us up, Pixie." Pixie pulled them up with him, and then the chair flapped its green and yellow wings and flew strongly up into the air. "I was afraid you wouldn't be able to come," said Pixie. "I was just setting off by myself. The chair had only grown its wings for a few minutes before I peeped in at the window." "What fine, big, strong wings it's got now," said Peter. "Well, they make quite a draft around my legs. It will be able to fly faster now." "Where are we going?" said Molly. "I don't know," said Pixie. "I just said to the chair, 'Go and find my wand and Rosebud and the rest of the toys.' And it seemed to know the place I meant because it rose up at once. I have no idea where we shall land. I only hope it's someplace nice. It would be awful to go to the village of Slipperies or to the land of Rubbish or something like that." "Oh dear, I hope it's someplace nice too," said Molly. "Well, the chair is flying very high, isn't it?" "Do you think we might be going to Toyland?" asked Peter. "I wouldn't mind that at all. After all, most of the things were toys. I think it's very likely they may have gone there." "It certainly seems to be taking the way to Toyland as far as I can remember," said Pixie, peering down. "Why, I know that we pass over the village of Gollywogs before we reach Toyland, and we're very near to that now. Well, there's Toyland far over there. That must be where we're going." But it wasn't. The chair suddenly began to fly down and down at a great rate, and it was plain that it was going to land. "Well, this is not Toyland," said Pixie in surprise. "Goodness gracious! I do believe it's the school run by Mr. Grimm for bad brownies. Oh, surely the toys have not gone there." The chair landed in the grounds of a big house, just near a wall. Pixie and the children got off. They pushed the chair under a bush to hide it, and then they looked cautiously around. From the big building in the distance came a chanting noise. The children and Pixie listened. I mustn't scream or whistle or shout, because Mr. Grimm is always about. I mustn't stamp or slam any door, or jump or slide on the schoolroom floor. I mustn't be greedy, untidy, or lazy, because Mr. Grimm would be driven quite crazy. I mustn't be slow and I must be quick, because Mr. Grimm has a very big stick. Ooh, said Molly. I don't like the sound of that. That must be the poor bad brownies learning verses for Mr. Grimm. Yes, said Pixie, I do wish that we hadn't come here. I have half a mind to get in the wishing chair and go off again. I've always been told that Mr. Grimm is a very hard master. We don't want to be caught by him. Let me get the cat organized. Caught, said Peter. But we are 2 children and a pixie. We're not brownies, and this is a school for brownies. I know, said Pixie. I just don't like the feel of this place, that's all. If you think that's all right, we'll stay, and we'll see if we can possibly find where our toys are. I think it's better, said Peter. Well, what's the first thing to do? Listen. Is that the brownies coming out to play? Said Molly, as a perfect babble of noise reached them. And then came the sound of feet running, and in a trice, about 50 small brownies surrounded them. They all looked merry, like merry, mischievous little fellows, too young to have grown their brownie beards yet. Who are you? Are you new pupils for this awful school? Asked a small brownie, pushing himself forward. My name's Winks. What's yours? All of the little brownies crowded around, listening eagerly. Pixie pushed them back. Don't crowd so. No, we haven't come to your school. We came because we're looking for things we've lost, and we think that they might be here somewhere. My name is Pixie. And these are real children, Peter and Molly. What are you looking for? Asked another brownie. I'm Ho-Ho. You can trust me. Well, said Pixie, we came here to look for a lot of flying toys and my new wand. It had wings, too. Flying toys, said Winks. And a flying wand? Well, have we seen anything like that? Yes, shouted Ho-Ho once. Don't you remember? Yesterday evening, we saw something very peculiar. We thought that they were curious birds flying about in the air. They must have been your toys. Well, what happened to them? Said Peter. Well, old Master Grimm was out in the garden, said Ho-Ho, and he suddenly looked up and he saw them too, and he was very excited. He called out some words that we couldn't hear, and what we thought were the peculiar birds came right down to him, said Winks. But they must have been your toys on their way to Toyland. Well, he caught sight of them and he made them come to him. Well, whatever can he do with them, said Ho-Ho. We're never allowed any toys at all. I suppose he's going to sell them to his friend, Magician Slyboots. Oh dear, said Molly. Well, we must try and get them before he does. Will you show us where you think Mr. Grimm might have hidden our toys? Yes, we'll show you, shouted the brownies, but do be careful that you aren't caught. They took Pixie and the children to the big building, all walking on tiptoe and shushing each other. Ho-Ho led them inside. He pointed to a winding stair. Go up there, he whispered. You'll come to a little landing. On the left side is a door. That's the storeroom where I expect Mr. Grimm has put the toys. Yes, creep in and see if you can find them, whispered Winks. Come on, said Pixie to the others. It's now or never. If we find our things, we'll take them and rush down and out into the garden and be off in the wishing chair before Mr. Grimm even knows that we're here. Shh, said Molly. And they all began to go up the stairs on tiptoe. And tomorrow, when we read next, it will be Chapter 11, Mr. Grimm's School for Bad Brownies. There's Edward, right where he's supposed to be.